Hello, welcome to Scrap Time. My name is Christine, and in this video I'm going to start by making a Brusho landscape background, and then I'm going to be adding in the Tim Holtz Suburbia dies. So today in this video I'm going to show you how to make a card similar to this. I use the Brusho on the background and then I wet it. So this is the dry method. Now I did a video a couple days ago or last week showing you the wet and dry method. Here I have the wet method, here I have the dry method. You can sort of see a bit of the difference in it. And then I'm using the Tim Holtz Suburbia dies. And you can see from the picture sample is you can layer up the dies. There's a lot more dies than what I'm using. But because I wanted this colorful background, I decided to just go and cut all the dies out in black so it'd be a sort of a shadow on all the color. But there are many ways that you could use these dies. I also want to show you that I did something similar, but this is with the Dina's scribble sticks and these are with distress crayons. So you can do the same idea with the dies on any sort of background you want to do. But today I'm going to use the Brusho again since it's a newer product to me and I'd like to experiment with it, and I think it's a lot of fun. So again, I have my watercolor card. Now I have a 5x7 card, and you'll notice that my final is a 4x6. I find that my little image here works better on the smaller card. So what I do is after I finish this card, I cut it down to the 4x6, but I like to work on the bigger canvas so I can decide where I want to cut it off. So in case there's an end I don't like as much, I can cut it from that end. So I start with my bigger card. I have my Brusho here. They're pigment powders if you haven't seen them before. And I poked a little hole in top of them, just make it easier to distribute. And so last time when I did it all over. This time I'm going to do more control with some lines across. So I'm putting some purple across the top. Now you don't need a lot, and you can always go in and add more after. Now I'm doing the crimson. And I overlap the colors a bit, so some of the crimson is in with the purple. Then I'm doing orange. And when I use it, I'm tapping the bottom to release that pigment. Sometimes I'll hold it with one hand where I want it and then tap with the other. And finally, I'm going to use the lemon along the bottom. Now I know I'm cutting off some of that bottom, so I want to bring the yellow up a bit more into my orange. Now the fun thing with Brusho is that you put it on and every time you do it, it's different. So here I have these random pigments on it, and until I spray it, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. Now when I spray, I like to spray higher up just so I get more of a mist so I'm not blowing my pigments. Once the pigments have sort of been wet, I can come in lower with some more bursts of water. Now depending how much water you add will depend if you're going to get these little mottled looks or a solid background. You can see here now that I added more, it's more solid. I think I sort of want an in between. Sort of like something like that. It's sort of interesting. It has different bursts going on all over the place. So now what I need to do is completely dry this. So I'm going to dry it so it's completely done, and then we'll come back and see what it looks like. So I've dried my card and I've cut it to the 4x6, and I just wanted to show you that here I had this part here that I really didn't like, and so that's why I like to do the big card. So I knew, okay, that's the part I'm going to cut off. And then I cut off the bottom. As I mentioned, I had to put the yellow higher knowing that. And so then I'm left with this, and I like how that looks together. So now it is time to put our dies down onto the card. And I'm going to do it sort of similar to what I was working on before, just to give you a bit of an idea. Now, what I want to do, I just wanted to show you that while it is in the die, that is when I punch out all the windows. You should be able to see through there. And so it's easier to do it while it's still in the die. And I just use a little stick, something with a pointed end to cut it out. And then to get it out, there's these holes you can just poke through to release the paper from the die. And carefully peel it off. You don't want to rip it. Now another alternative, I haven't done it, I haven't really needed to do it with these, but if you're afraid of it ripping, you can put a piece of, you have your die, then a piece of wax paper, and then your paper, and that wax paper will allow you to release it from the die really easily. So that's another way you can do it. And then this little house will go here. Now I would like to have the little clothes thing, hang your clothes on across. And so I have a piece of twine. I think I have to cut it down a bit more. And so I'm going to take my buildings and I use a tiny piece of washi tape to hold it in place. So I have my buildings and I have my little clothesline. That's what it's called, the clothesline. And I'll just put some washi tape down there. This one's too big. Okay, so now I need to glue it. I'm using this Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive Clear Drying Craft Glue. I got it recently, and it's nice. It has a fine tip, so you can just squeeze out a bit that you need. A little on the edges. You could always use a toothpick if you wanted it even less. You could squirt some out on a sheet and then use a toothpick to put it on those fine areas. Okay. And we're going to transfer it to our card. And I find if you get some glue, you just use your finger to take off the excess, or a tissue, or you can even come back in with your scraper and just scrape off some of that excess around there. Okay, so now we just need to glue on our other things. You have a tiny fire hydrant. Because everything's so small, you want to use a wet glue. A tape runner wouldn't really work. You could try using the Xyron, but I just find a wet glue is usually the best route. And then for the little clothes, I'm just going to put some dabs of glue onto my clothesline. Clothes are so small. And then just put the clothes on. You can use your pointer to help position it. Okay, and we're just going to finish off with a stamped greeting. I'm using this stamp set here, Scripty Sayings from Lawn Fawn. I like to use archival ink for most of my stamping because it will stamp over any sort of mediums and backgrounds you have going. And just sort of position it on your card, give it a bit of pressure. And there we have our completed card with our Brusho background and then the Cityscape Suburbia dies on top. Thanks for watching. Be sure to give our video a thumbs up and subscribe to Scrap Time videos on YouTube. In the meantime, here are a couple other videos you might be interested in watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.